Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Progressive Overload Podcast. Have you ever thought about strengthening multiple areas of your life at the same time? Then you've come to the right place. Our goal is to help you identify ways that you might need a progressive overload to break through those plateaus and keep you growing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Progressive Overload Podcast. I'm Adam Lazarine. I'm here with my co-host, two hosts, better than co-host. That's right. Joe Copeland and
Shalom.
Dustin Moore.
Yo.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us today. We are excited, no matter, and I'll take this from a guy that I listen to on a regular basis, Colin Cowherd. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I have not.
He says, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, we're glad that you're here. And so I can steal that from him. Wherever you are and however you are listening or watching, we're glad that you're with us. Looking forward to today. Got a lot to get through, but first of all, let's talk about what's going on with us. What's going on?
Oh, man, my workouts are still going strong. I'm excited to start kind of another little round of just really dialing in with you guys.
Yeah.
I love doing challenges with you guys because that's like one of the best motivators for me, and I'm sure it works very, very well for you guys. So all three of us are kind of we're buckling in and really gonna go at it again.
Kind of like we each have personalized challenges.
Yeah,
in a sense.
I'm still working on mine.
Yeah.
My list has changed since we started.
Yeah.
Is that even is that fair?
Yes,
Sure.
it is.
Sure. Okay. If you're doing your own.
The only rules are there are no rules.
Okay.
Yeah. No. For me, Dustin Moore, I have the 50 more challenge because we did our 60-day challenge at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm putting myself through another 50. It's not going to be completely what we did, and it's not going to be completely what I thought it might be at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm kind of working through some things. Mine is going to be a mixture of health and nutrition, prioritizing wanting to lose weight. I have an ideal date and weight goal to try and hit within a couple months, and so I'm going to be striving to reach that. And on top of that, just working through some personal growth and learning and educating myself. So
For sure.
Sweet.
I love that.
Good for you, Dustin. 50 more.
So is that like 50 more pounds or 50 more reps or?
I don't know that I have 50 more to lose.
Yeah, dude, you'd be way
because, man, I'd be too intimidating.
You would have no butt.
With all the muscle that would just be revealed,
Yeah,
it just,
we don't want that happening.
We don't want that happening. What about you, Joe? What's your challenge?
Mine is the Copeland quit eating like a 12-year-old challenge.
Oh, yeah, I like how you toned down the name.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the group that I texted, it was maybe a little bit more
there was
PG-13 rated.
A little more emotion put behind his an original title. Just
no. Ever since we got back from vacation, my workouts are freaking dialed in. I'm killing it. I'm gaining muscle. I know I am. I'm gaining strength in every lift, but I can't string together 7 just good days of nutrition. I'll do really good for a couple days, and then so I guess that's what happens when the difference between what I choose to eat when I'm in a challenge versus when I'm off a challenge.
Yeah.
For this year anyways, it seems to be like that. I'm do really, really good for a couple days, and then I'll have a bad day, and then I'll get back on the train for another 5 days. So that's why I like these challenges that we do together, is just because it helps me from, like I've said before, grabbing that thing as I walk by my daughter's plate. Oh, you're not going to eat all of your chicken nuggets? Maybe I'll eat a couple of them.
Maybe I'll eat that dinosaur-shaped one.
Dude, she loves dino nuggets.
Dino nuggets.
Dino nuggies,
Yeah, fish sticks. I don't know.
Oh, we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm sure we will.
Man.
Fish sticks.
That's a weird deal, but I kind of like fish sticks. I don't know.
Hey, listen, I think collectively we have the palate of a 12-year-old between the three of us. So there is that.
True. So, Adam, you haven't quite figured out what you want to do for the challenge?
No, I will tell you guys and our listeners what I sent back to you guys. I said, what if I just put everything that I know about fitness, nutrition, and my spiritual life into practice?
Practice.
That would be a good challenge.
Yeah.
The practice what you preach challenge.
Yeah, that would be a good one for the preacher.
But I like the Up and Atom challenge.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, that's right.
That was so clever.
Up and Atom.
That's
yeah,
good.
that's what I named it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to dial that in and get it to you guys because it is good to do it together, do a challenge together, and
I think part of it for me, especially because I'm getting back into working out after having to take those couple months off. You know, I'm officially back in routine. Probably have done more in the last week than I was beforehand, and the lactic acid is setting in. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the soreness. I've got a couple of full workouts in under my belt, and I'm excited and I'm ready to keep pushing that. But I also know that I need to stay motivated, and this challenge is going to help push me to getting back in the groove almost of where I was. Hopefully not. I don't want to phrase that I'm catching up to where I was because I don't feel like I've lost that much ground.
No.
But really taking that next step.
Yeah. So if you're listening, we want to just let you know that we feel the pain, we feel the struggle.
Exactly.
Every week it's a new, kind of every day is a new day, but every week is really a new week for fitness. And
it's true. Yeah.
You kind of have to dial it in on your own or get some help.
Yeah. And our challenge to you guys can be this: like, if you need that extra motivation, come up with a set of rules for yourself to put yourself into practice or to discipline yourself in such a way to strive towards a goal. I had a church member that I was talking with about my 50-day challenge, which I started Sunday. And we got to talking, and she said, I could probably use something like that. And so I sent her a picture of the list of rules that I'm doing for my challenge, and I think she's going to tag along with it.
Cool.
And so maybe not everything in the challenge, because mine's obviously personally tailored, but I think it would be a good practice for us all just to have this middle of the year, post-summer, just a little reset, finish strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am determined to be under where I was when we left the first challenge by January, and so I'm doing everything in my power not to get back to where I was when I lost all the weight in January.
Right.
For me, I know I have the specific goal, and I'll just throw it out there. I don't know if he listens, but I have a cousin who's getting married in the middle of October. And I am supposed to be officiating his wedding.
Oh, man.
It's a first for me.
Congratulations.
And I, before that, I kind of have this goal of I want to be at the healthiest weight that I've been by that time.
Yeah.
And so I'm not far off. Roughly as of this morning, counting the water weight and stuff that I've gotten from adding some water in. Honestly, I'm sitting like 12, 13 pounds up from where I was. And so my goal is to crush that, get back down to the healthiest weight that I have been. Yeah. And then if I don't do it before then, push further. I really would like to see myself in the year out at the healthiest weight I've ever been.
Yeah, so that when we get to the Shape Up and Faith Challenge or whatever it's called, the challenge that we did last time, none of us have to go, oh, we need to do the challenge again.
Exactly. Yeah.
That'd be a milestone for all of us.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential ahead of us, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's kind of what we're going to be pointing at today. So Joe, why don't you break us in with that?
As we start this challenge together, we're talking about what factors in our life can we improve to maximize our potential for these upcoming months. And so that's what I want to talk about today are the factors of potential. So different ways that we can control our potential or enhance our potential. And then I want to also talk about some ways that just genetically we're predisposed to a certain amount of potential. So there's actually, and I don't know the name of it, but there's a formula out there that somebody created that you input your height, weight, your wrist circumference, your forearm circumference, your bicep circumference, and I think ankle, and it puts into a formula of your genetic potential for muscle growth. So if you have these numbers, this generally this is about the biggest that your biceps will ever be, or the biggest that your thighs will ever be. And it's actually really cool. And from what I've seen, it's very accurate. from people kind of
I'm super
comparing it to
curious.
themselves.
I want to do this.
I'm
now
surprised he
and
didn't
just
jump up and
I'll
run
look
out
it
of this
up.
room to go do it right this second, just so he can
Pause
see.
the podcast.
see.
I'm
We
gonna
have
go
to.
do it.
We have
Yeah.
to go get a custom, thing to measure with, just because the biceps are so
Yeah,
big.
we don't
there,
have-
Adam.
yeah.
We're just not equipped
50
for
more,
that
Dustin,
here.
50 more.
50 more. 50
Anyways,
more push-ups.
So there
because
are
I need 'em.
factors that we can control, but there's also some that we don't. So let's
Yeah.
just dive into it. And I want to start with the genetic factors. So things that
Okay.
the way our genes have been expressed in our life, in our body, that can control basically how much muscle we can have, and also even just how fast we can get it. And so I think it's important if you hear me saying this and you're like, oh, I don't have a desire to reach my maximal potential. I just want to be healthy. That's fine. But what this information can help you with is maybe how quickly your body will let you get to that point that you want.
Okay.
Or maybe help you learn how to do the right things to make the most amount of your time, basically.
Sure.
So I hope that makes sense. So first genetic factor that tells us about how our body will look and how our muscles look is the origin and insertion points of our muscles. Adam, I'm sure you have plenty of experience in that in your athletic training world.
Yes.
Yeah. And so everybody genetically have different size muscle bellies and different origin, basically where their muscle is attached, and an insertion where it's attached on the other side. Correct?
So it's around the same area for everybody, but it may be
it is different
to each individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just put it to you this way: if I was going to palpate or find a landmark on your body for a test that I was going to test a ligament or something, it's all going to be in the same position anatomically, but on a microscopic level, those insertion points may be different from you and I.
Yeah.
I will never know that from just a general, let me, put my hands here and do this and do this test on you to test your ligament.
That's true. Yeah.
So I see what you're saying, but I think it's important for people to know generally it's going to be in the same spot for everyone.
Of course.
But it's going to be different on a level that we can't tell.
But what that does is it changes the muscle belly length.
Yes.
And so if you've seen someone like flex their bicep and it looks like they just have a fist or a rock right there where the bicep is, they generally have a shorter muscle belly. So whenever the bicep muscle is contracted, it's a shorter muscle belly, so it kind of balls up a little bit better than somebody who would say have a longer muscle belly, who more so just takes up most of their forearm rather than just a ball of muscle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It
so I'm
does.
sure you can kind of see
the mirror
that in your
makes
head.
sense now. Thank you.
So, which one are you?
Not the one that has the ball looking.
Yeah.
No, I generally, like, as you're explaining it, and I don't know, because what do I know in reality? But no, I would venture to guess that my muscle bellies tend to be, I guess, longer.
Yeah. So with people who are just naturally taller, longer limbed type stuff, they're going to have longer muscle bellies than somebody who's a little bit shorter or squatty.
Shout out to me.
And have like shorter arms. So obviously if you have short forearms or short upper arms, your muscle belly is going to be shorter. So that means it's going to look stronger than if, say, you had much longer upper arms.
Yeah.
Where the bicep is stretched out a little bit more. Okay. So that's just a genetic factor that we can't control. And then the next one is bone size. So people are genetically predisposed to, or I don't even know if that's the right word, genetically have larger and thicker bones than other people. And that's not something that we can really control. We can exercise and put stress on the bones that will strengthen them, but there is not going to be a whole lot of circumference growth to the bones. Would you agree to that, Adam?
Yeah. Otherwise, as your muscles grew, your
bones would
bone
too.
structure would grow, and that would be problematic.
Yeah. Unless you have like acromegaly, where you're just producing a ridiculous amount of human growth hormone. And that's like Andre the Giant or even like Tony Robbins. They have massive bone structures because their bones just continue to grow through. Right. But that's very uncommon.
That's one subject that I've always found interesting, because regardless of how big I have been at various points in my fitness journey and everything. And regardless of muscle growth that I've seen, like I always go back to, I look at my own wrists, and like my wrists to me feel tiny compared to, you know, like my bicep, my thigh, like anything else. Yeah. And it will, like there's not much there for me, but it's made me go back and wonder, like, I wonder how much my bone structure, you know, is set out to be able to support.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Who knows? Hopefully you can help me somewhat, Dr. Joe.
Yeah, but basically the bigger the bigger bones you have, the more muscle they're going to be able to support. So people who have larger, thicker bones are going to be able to support more muscle. So
sure.
I want to talk about muscle fiber types. So genetically, we are born with, some people are born with more type 1 muscle fibers, which are the slow twitch type of muscle fibers. And some people are born with what's called the fast twitch muscle fibers, which are, and so the difference between slow twitch and fast twitch, or slow twitch muscle fibers are for long endurance type running. They don't require a whole ton of energy to produce. And then the fast twitch muscle fibers are for short, quick, powerful bursts of movement. So basically, you know, a long distance type thing versus a sprinter having the type or
do we have both of those?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody has both, but some people genetically are better at long distance running. Have you ever met somebody who's just like, they can naturally just get up and run for a long time?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He just has to look in the mirror. Just kidding. What if we were to say this, if you've ever been to a track meet and you look at the long distance runners and their body type.
Sure.
And then you look at the sprinters and their body type.
Yeah.
You put them side by side. They both are running events, but they're doing different things because they're probably genetically predisposed to do those things better. One or the other. And so that would be a good way to think about those muscle fiber types, even your bone structure, you know, how you're genetically built. And
even
those people
within us, right? Like within, like, obviously we're not sprinters, we're not long distance runners either.
Neither. Yeah.
But even within us and what we do, right, with what training we do you, Joe, see a leaning one way or potentially another?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do pretty much all strength training and power training and stuff like that. So I have definitely trained my fast twitch
more
muscles
towards that fast twitch.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Adam, what about? Because I know, like, I guess what I'm thinking about with you is I know you swim, and you swim pretty good distance. I mean, more than I can, and like, so to your credit, I almost read into that as a form of endurance training.
It is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. But I think where I differ is I only do that probably once a week, maybe twice a week. And so I try to do that just to keep some balance to those muscle fibers. Because I do have to use different muscle fibers and a different
Sure.
It's an anaerobic, or is it
it's aerobic,
instead of anaerobic system to do that swim. And so you know, if I were to go to the doctor, you know, he would look and go, I'm not going to really do a whole lot of worrying about your heart, because you basically give yourself a stress test once a week.
Exactly, right.
You know, and that's kind of how I look at it. And so it's just to achieve a little bit of balance in my workouts, because if I don't do that, then I don't want to hit the pavement or hit the treadmill like you. Kudos to you, because
thank you.
Maybe my joints are just older. I don't know.
So what about, I know I'm throwing a lot of what ifs. I'm sorry. But what about, like, I know there's several people in the gym that we work out in, who it seems like they're there and they work out every day. And I'm not saying like they come in, they move some weights and leave. Like, they work out, but they don't ever hit that point of like soreness. They don't ever hit. Would you say that they tend to lean towards that fast twitch type of muscle, or do you think that gives them a benefit in that area, I guess?
I probably wouldn't word the question like that, because everybody has a certain amount of fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers, and basically you get good at the one that you train the most. So people like that just seem like freaks about, they never get sore. They're constantly training hard. Most of that is they just genetically, they're really good at recovering, which is a mix of a bunch of stuff that we're about to talk about. And so I like the questions, but
let's move on.
Yeah, no, that's fine. With people that ask like, okay, I'm generally good at endurance stuff, but I really want to work on, you know, power training or quick, short bursts of movement. You can train your slow twitch fibers to be better at fast twitch type movement. So, I mean, you're going to get better at whatever you train and the method that you train at. You can't change a slow twitch muscle fiber to a fast twitch muscle fiber. The science is still kind of out on that, but it hasn't been proven yet. But you can make a slow twitch fiber work more like a fast twitch, and same thing vice versa. So basically just you're going to adapt to whatever type of training stimulus you give yourself. So let's talk about some lifestyle things that we can change. Those things were genetic factors that we can't control really. For the most part, the things that we were predisposed to, the way they were expressed when we were born. And so there are some things that we can control to maximize our training effectiveness, to maximize our muscle building. And so let's get into that. Sound good?
Yeah. I'm still trying to put this into words that fit, and this whole deal about potential, because, and I'm looking at something on my computer because I use the internet and it has to be true on the internet. And let me just throw this out there before we get into lifestyle, because this will help, I think. Potential is the ability or chance for something to happen or occur. And it's like this: a seed has the potential to become a full-grown plant. Okay. But a full-grown plant does not have the potential to become an airplane.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
And so, and in that same breath, an airplane does not have the potential to create a seed. And so, if you look at potential in that way, all of us have this untapped potential in our bodies. And basically, what we're doing when we go through fitness exercises or a fitness regime, and we're trying to get to that actual potential and then the potential actually becomes actuality and not just potential. Does that make any sense?
It does. So no, thanks for clearing that up. That's good.
So when we're talking about lifestyle things, these are actual things that can help us reach that potential. So it's still critical for us to go through these opportunities, I'll say, as we're working out or we're running or we're lifting. I think it's important for us to still reach for the potential that we do not have. And that's kind of why we started yesterday's conversation a little bit with what to talk about. When we're talking about what we should discuss about this, and somebody mentioned PRs, and I made the comment, PRs are kind of like hair at this point to me. It's less important with every passing day.
I love that.
And well, I'm losing my hair, so it doesn't matter. But still, it has to do with the potential for that PR, I think, and then what I have to do to make the actual process of
almost
meeting.
Like shooting for the stars. And he might land amongst the moon. Or something like that.
And I think and one of the big things that I see, especially as you're talking about potential. Right, and that's kind of where we're at, is we're talking about what is the maximum potential of where I could reach. I personally am leaning towards what I'm pulling out of that statement is the fact that there is an act within reaching. There has to be action. We have to give effort. We can talk genetics. We can talk things that can help. We can have all the tools we want to build the machine, but unless we get to work, it's not going to get built.
Exactly.
We have no amount of genetics, no amount of anything will get us to a point where we are not required to work.
So another person, Dustin, you and I are about the shade of this wall right here, which is very white. Somebody else, I'm trying to. I have friends who are very, very tan. But they don't get tan like that from sitting in a basement all day. They're more predisposed to getting tan rather than sunburning, like me and you. But they don't
Fair.
get that tan unless they're putting in the work by being out in the sun. So same way, somebody else might be more genetically predisposed to have lots and lots of muscle than you or I or somebody else. But if you don't put in the work, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
So that's training is the number one thing. So whenever we go about following a training program, we have to make sure that, one, it's going to be effective for the goals that we want. But you know, are you doing the exercises that you need to do? So first thing I wanted to talk about are you doing the hard movements that are going to help you build the most amount of muscle? Are you skipping the squats? Are you skipping the hard presses? Are you skipping the deadlifts? Are you going in there and just going through the motion by doing a bunch of lateral raises and bicep curls and blah 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 blah? What?
I'm smiling because I try not to skip the hard lifts, and I really do try to go through the lifts, but I enjoy some of the other ones more than the hard lifts.
You can do those. Just I think you're gonna maximize your potential in the gym if you're doing the exercises that are hardest to you.
Sure.
Like our big gross motor movements, like your barbell squats or your squats, your deadlifts, presses, heavy presses, heavy rows.
Those things, you have to do what is going to give you the growth.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
If my goal is to strengthen my legs, no amount of bicep curls is going to help me.
No. Well,
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, like,
airplane can't turn into a seed.
Airplane cannot turn into a seed. Those bicep curls are not going to directly, lead to my quads and hamstrings.
Yeah, for sure. And
massive.
And that's a single joint movement. Whenever we do our big gross motor movements, our multi-joint complex exercises, you're working every part of the body,
and you feel it the next day.
Yeah. And this is the sentence that that kind of sparked this whole interest of mine is I heard the sentence that said, whenever you do things the wrong way or learn things the wrong way, your potential is capped. And so that's the basis of all of this is, okay, how do we learn things the right way? How do we do things the right way to make sure that our potential is not capped?
Yeah.
So.
Is that a technique thing of like back to form? And
so it can, yeah. So when if you are doing a squat the wrong way, obviously your potential at increasing that squat number is way capped if you're
without injuring yourself.
Yeah, without injuring yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, our body can only compensate so much before something else goes wrong.
Maybe that's why I don't like running. I'm doing it wrong.
Maybe so. I mean, running is so technical, and
I need a gait coach.
Yeah, dude. Seriously,
it's okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
Oh yeah, Dustin's gonna watch me.
Golly.
Wow. Okay.
Don't doubt me.
I'm not doubting you at all. I'm going to pay you double what I'm paying you now.
Right.
I can see the doubt in Joe's eyes.
No. Okay.
You get on the treadmill and test that?
Sure. Well, no.
Well,
no.
Yeah, okay.
If you listened to our episode last week, we were challenged to sprint against each other. I don't know.
We haven't done that yet.
And I already lost, so because it didn't happen.
Oh, man.
Fun times. So potential is capped when you don't learn things the right way. And that I think that extends to a whole lot of different areas of our life.
Yeah,
I really,
for sure.
If you don't learn the basics of mathematics, you will not be able to do complex math.
Exactly.
Sure.
If you don't, if you don't learn how to formulate a sentence, let me be careful as I speak.
Right.
If you can't articulate a sentence, then you will have trouble later in life.
Absolutely.
With other things.
Yeah.
Like podcasting.
Yeah. I could have a direct influence there, Adam.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I hope. So a lot of different areas of your life. And I think as you're talking about these places in our life that we do have control over, I'm going to go back to my airplane because it's the most technical thing I can think of.
Right.
An airplane in flight has actually reached its potential. Okay, so if you're not it's actually found its potential. And so if you feel like you're not able to get off the ground, if you feel like you're stuck on the runway, if you're just taxiing around, doing circles, and you're wondering what it feels like to be in the air, maybe you need to go back to the basics of your training or your lifting, or get a coach
Or
or
your
a strength
nutrition.
or your
Yeah.
nutrition, because you're not reaching your potential, and you know that, and you feel that somewhere deep inside of you.
Yeah.
You know, like, man, and I think that goes into what were we built to be in the first place. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
as images of God, we were created to be his likeness, in
Yeah.
his image and likeness.
Yeah.
And if we're not reaching that potential, then we're just kind of spinning our wheels and going, there's so much more I feel like I can do and be,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I'm not reaching my potential because I'm choosing poorly
Mm-hmm.
along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
And you know, not only an airplane in flight has reached its potential, right? But this just connected with me as you were explaining that. Every airplane that's up has to come back down, land. There has to be maintenance. So every once in a while, it does not hurt for us, like we are doing with this challenge that we've discussed since the beginning of the podcast, for us to land the plane, get refueled,
Mm-hmm.
get the maintenance we need so that we can maintain or re-achieve, stay at our maximum
Yeah.
potential.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
One of the things that we must do is eat right.
Yes.
Yeah. We need refueled.
We do, and we have to do it correctly,
Yes.
which
when it comes to building muscle, the biggest way that you can cap your potential is by not eating enough.
Oh my goodness.
If you're trying to
Don't
build
tell me
muscle,
that.
and
Soapbox. Okay, you
and
know
you-
exactly who you are. And I'm not going to name the name, but I know he listens, and he's a good friend of mine.
okay.
And we've had this conversation before. He's one of the guys I told you about that was asking me for workout advice a while back.
Oh yeah. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got awkwardly close to his name.
Oh really?
Not gonna lie. But you at least got the first letter.
Okay.
Anyway, so Jay, as we'll
Yeah.
call him, Jay was talking to me about how badly he wanted to put on muscle, and he gave me the whole, I continue to just shovel food, but nothing happens. And I asked him, do you lift?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I don't. What does that have to do with anything? And so we got into this conversation about the purpose of building muscle.
Yeah.
And I asked him, like, what kind of calories are you taking in? He's like, well, I'm eating junk because I'm just trying to get fat.
He's on a dirty bulk.
And I was like, that's not what you need to do. And he and I, after talking, he started to realize, okay, so I really need to put more emphasis or thought into how much protein I'm taking in, for one.
Yeah.
I need to start lifting and putting my muscle that I do have through the paces so that it will adapt and grow.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, like, he has seen a little bit of a transformation, but the biggest part of our conversation had to do with nutrition, because when he started telling me the numbers and stuff of what he was at, and then we started calculating what his like maintenance calories are and these things, he's like, I upped my calories by like 800 calories. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What did that put you at? Oh, like 1700.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, brother, what?
What?
Well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You're not eating enough calories to gain weight. You're not eating enough calories to maintain.
Yeah.
And so he was one that at the moment, and that may be slightly excessive.
Yeah.
That may be exaggeration for the purpose of the story. However,
Works.
that's kind of where we found
Yeah.
ourselves was, dude, like, you have to up your calories more than you think you do.
yeah.
And because he started to realize, it was fun to see him realize that he was undernourished. He was not getting enough calories. He was not getting enough protein. He was not getting enough of what he needed in
Yeah.
order to reach the potential that he was striving to achieve.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's why going through periods of bulking and cutting is so important, because if you're not giving your bodies those nutrients,
Yeah.
especially protein is the building block of muscle. We cannot build muscle without protein, whether you want to do vegan protein or from meat
Sure.
source. That's a whole nother topic. But if you're getting enough protein, it doesn't matter where it comes from. Generally, you should be eating at minimum 0.6 to 0.7 times your body weight in grams.
Okay.
So just, I mean, easy calculation. If you're 100 pounds, that's at least 60 grams. But
since I weighed yesterday,
most of us are more than that.
Dustin's doing the math.
Oh my gosh!
So you need you need to be at least eating. I mean, I'm about 250ish, 260ish right now, and I'm going for a minimum of 200, and that's
I'll
like
round it.
Bare minimum.
I'll round it. The minimum I just did off the numbers you gave me, I need to be hitting 150 a day.
Yeah, minimal. Well, yeah,
boy.
And so that's if you're not strength training. I mean, that's like the minimum. If
boy,
you need to be at least 0.8 or 1.
0.8 or 1.
Yeah.
So more chicken,
Joseph.
more eggs,
eat more chicken,
more meat.
Joseph.
Okay, more bacon. Yeah. Can I have more bacon?
Yeah. Well, no, bacon's not very much protein in there.
Well,
okay, so
fat.
I'm with you. I basically need to be at about 200 a day
minimum.
Wow. Man, I was
undernourished. 50 more, Dustin.
50 more grams of protein.
That's what the challenge was named over. 50 more grams of protein a day.
Perfect. All right, so all of us are undernourished on protein except for Joe because he's doing his.
Because that's my all goal. He stinking consumes over here. Well, think about it. Protein shakes and his.
When protein is the focus of your meal, it is the most satiating macronutrient. It is the most filling, which means satiating, but it it doesn't leave much room for a lot of crap whenever you're eating a lot of protein.
Does it help you sleep at night?
No,
it does not.
No, it doesn't.
But you know what sleep does is it takes off that cap of potential. So if you're not recovering, if you're not sleeping well, you absolutely will be capped in your potential of muscle growth. So
how much sleep a night should we get, Joe?
At least 8.
At least 8.
Not happening.
Not happening.
I know. I don't get it either, but science says you need at least 8.
So, and I know we've talked about like the sleep trackers before and stuff at some point. But like my phone's health app, right, tells me you were in bed for 7 hours and 40 minutes. That's like my average. I cannot hit 8 to save my life.
I hit 8 on the weekends, maybe.
Maybe. Yawns.
But as I yawn.
Maybe.
Yeah. But no, I generally get about 5.5 to 6. And so I know that I'm capping my potential for muscle growth, but I also know that with a wife whose love language is quality time mixed with quantity time, I don't get... I have to stay up late to be with her in the evenings, and that's just what I have to do.
We'll call it a sacrifice.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I know.
Well, good for you, Joe.
But anyway.
Yeah,
well, good for you, Joe.
That's exactly right.
For some of you, substances are really capping your potential too. If you struggle with having those couple beers at the end of the day, that is obviously going to cap your potential. And if you're counting calories and you're making that part of your macronutrients, okay, but how many people that are drinking a couple beers every night are counting your calories or counting your beers? So if you're doing that, and it's something that you just have to do. First off, let's break that down and figure out why you feel like you have to go towards that every night, which is a whole nother topic. But obviously know that it's going to cap your potential as far as muscle growth goes.
Every time I look at that one dot in the gym that has the control substance abuse thing on it, I think food. Food is a substance abuse. In this terms, or in the terms of that, it's more talking about alcohol, smoking, vaping, stuff like that.
Cookie dough ice cream.
Because a healthy body will put on muscle. A unhealthy body will not.
Yeah. Sure. All right.
Sure.
Fun times. All right. So potential is a lot of things that are... We can look to the future or ahead of us.
Yeah.
But to find those potential, to meet our potential, I guess I should say, to actually get to our potential, there's a lot of things that we must do. And it's critical that we take these steps to do that.
For sure.
And I'll go back to one thing that you said, Joe. Do things the right way. Are you doing things the right way? Are you learning things the right way, correct way?
Yeah.
I go back to something... that I learned when I was in seminary. And I love that I took theology as a degree plan,
Right.
Because one of the things we talked about was if you can get God right, if you can get that right in the beginning, then everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
And one of the things I realized is a verse from Malachi 3:6. It says, "For I, the Lord, do not change." That's the beginning of the verse. It says, "I do not change." And so God has been God from the time that we ever knew about him.
Yeah.
And so he hasn't changed one bit.
Mm-hmm.
His attributes, his character, all of the things, his love, his mercy, his justice, all of the things that we've talked about
Exactly.
are unchanging. His character is unchanging, and we are the ones that kind of sit around taxing on the runway, looking for potential in him that's always been there. And so it's one of the things that we look for in our fitness plans is the potential is probably there for many of us to do greater things in the gym or, at home or spiritually. And we just got to find a way to actualize that potential.
Yeah. When I think about potential in my faith or in my walk with Christ, for me, I don't know why, but it always comes back to obedience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I just think about when I'm going somewhere in my life and I choose to be obedient, my potential is skyrocketed. And when I choose my own path, I think my potential is obviously kept.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it goes in my head.
And just like in our fitness journey, as we're striving for our max potential, we are growing. It's a process. It doesn't happen immediately. It is something that happens over time. In our faith journey, we walk through sanctification, the process of being made to be or more to look more like Christ. And that's not something that happens overnight. Yeah. It's not something that I believe that it's not something we ever get perfect.
No,
not on earth.
Not on this side of eternity.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
The second that, we enter into heaven and into perfection, obviously that's a little different. That's where we go from sanctification to glorification. And, but up until that point, it's a process. And processes, they're tough to go through sometimes.
Absolutely.
But, sometimes it takes some consistency. Working through it.
Back to obedience, back to discipline.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
Yeah. I was in the gym yesterday and there was an older gentleman working out and he's pretty new and I was praising him like, "Hey man, I'm so glad you finally started and come to work out." And he was like, "You know what? I realized I didn't exercise for the longest time because I just knew the Lord was going to take me whenever he was going to take me, and I didn't have a desire to elongate my life basically, or my life expectancy." And then he said, "You know what I realized is I can control the things that I can control. And so why not do that? And so control the things that you can control in your life that's going to make you live longer and healthier and make the quality of life better."
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that are terminally ill that still choose to exercise because it improves their quality of life.
Yeah.
They're not it's not all about just trying to live longer. But when you're exercising and you're eating well, your quality of life is enhanced so much.
Yep.
So much.
And so I just like that story, and
that's awesome.
I like that conversation with him.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to do that. Well, guys, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast today. It's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of potential in this podcast today, right?
Yeah, a lot of potential.
A lot of potential. Well, if you want to check us out on all of our social media platforms, please do that and
I want to challenge our listeners. Okay, so we see the analytics. We see the analytics. People are listening to this podcast, but I don't see a whole lot of engagement. So if you listen to the podcast, like go comment on one of my posts.
There you go.
And say, "Hey, I listened and I really enjoyed it," or something. I just want to know that you're listening. Because I know you are. There's people out there that are listening, but I want to interact with you guys. And so if you get this and you feel compelled to, please just interact with us on social media, and I want to get to know our listeners and who you are and what you're learning and all that fun stuff. So
and what you're eating. How about that?
Oh yeah, and what you're eating. There you go.
There you go.
A little bit of accountability.
Okay, I'm sorry for keep talking.
No,
there is
fine.
this one person that what's Belgium? What's the word? Belgium. Yeah.
Belgium.
Every single episode, we have one person in Belgium that listens to our episode.
Shout out to you.
And I know that there's only one person because there's like we have 28 episodes and there's 28 listens in Belgium. So I'm like, well, there has to be one guy. Message me. I want to get to know you, and I don't know. If you hear this,
Find the Belgian
hello,
person.
I see you. Welcome to America.
Man.
So
And
I really hope his name is Waldo. So
Well-
Joe has his own personal game of Where's Waldo.
that's so I just looked it up briefly because I had to. Belgians are made up of two main linguistic and ethnic groups. The Dutch speakers are called Flemish, and the French speakers are called Walloons. And so
Okay.
we'd like to know
Which
what
one are
you
you?
are.
Are you a
Flemish or a
Or a
Walloon?
Walloon, okay.
I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm
I
sorry
don't
if
know
I'm
that
not.
you are.
he's probably cringing right now.
I don't
or
know
she.
that you are, but it was nice knowing you while you were here.
Right. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Come back next week and see what other linguistic tongue
Right.
twisters we can
Mishaps.
get into.
What other mishaps we can find.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Progressive Overload podcast. We're honored to be a small part of your day. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are interested in sponsoring our efforts, please feel free to reach out via email. Find us at progressiveoverloadpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.
And as always, you can help us reach the masses by sharing our podcast with your friends and family. And then check us out on Facebook and Instagram to follow our own personal journeys and get an inside look on our day-to-day lives.